back to work.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the March meeting of the New Bern Redevelopment Commission. And we will begin with a roll call.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Sharon Bryan.
Present.
Commissioner Jimmy Dillahunt. Commissioner Sarah Proctor.
Here.
Commissioner Leander Morgan. Commissioner Steve Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner Julius Parham. Commissioner Tabari Wallace.
Here.
Commissioner Beth Walker. Commissioner Kip Paraguay.
Here.
And our ex officio members are not present. We have quorum.
We have a quorum. Great. Next order of business is consider approving the agenda, which was sent out to us, and hope everybody's had a chance to take a look at it.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will work off of the existing agenda. We also, in our packets that we got, there were minutes from our meeting of February 15th, 2024. Hope everybody's had a chance to review those minutes. Any comments or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the February 15th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Next agenda item is our mission statement and our guiding principles. Mr. Strickland, would you do us the honor of reading the mission statement for us?
Yes, sir. The New Bern Redevelopment Commission, leading the way for the community transformation and improvement by directly addressing community needs in the vital areas of public health, infrastructure, housing, and economic development. The Commission is committed to an accountable, transparent, and publicly driven process.
Thank you, sir. And our guiding principles. Sarah, will you start us off with number one?
Sure. Past, present, future, equal time.
Respect others' opinions.
Listen to build consensus.
Share accurate information, public perception.
Stay focused, be action-oriented.
Believe.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a time for public comment. As everyone knows, public comments are addressed to the commission are limited to 4 minutes. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission? Seeing no one approaching the podium, we will dispense with the public comment period. Okay, new business. What I would like to do at the present time under new business is kind of reflect on the last meeting we had, which we created some project teams, and maybe have some updates about those project teams that were created. And the first one is the A Street development project team, and what has been done is basically nothing at the present time, waiting for the demolition of the 3 houses that exist on the property. It would be, we felt like it would be unproductive to engage in surveying and such activities when we're going to be moving in a bunch of heavy equipment to demolish 3 houses and get them removed, as well as some trees and so forth. So come April 1st, those houses will begin the demolition process. And the reason we're waiting for April 1st is it gets done at no expense to the Redevelopment Commission. So that is the process and the reasoning behind the lack of activity at the present time. The thing that I will say is that when we do get started, I reflect on the mayor's statement last night at the meeting about how he always talks about how long it takes things to get done in government. And I would really like us to go back, and I will resubmit a budget for that project, and maybe we can approve the budget so that we don't have to wait 30 days to come up with an approval for a surveyor or some other processes, so that we don't have to go step by step, month by month in that development process. Anyhow, that's where we are on the A Street project. Mr. Dillahunt was going to explore opportunities on First Avenue, and he's not here this evening to report. And there was the Bloomfield site.
Yes, and we got some information back. There is someone domiciled in that dwelling. And we kind of stopped there once we realized they were actually living in it. Me and Zeb did brainstorm some ideas regarding that. But that will be in the future. Maybe we can work something out with the new development. Hopefully, if this all happens, this is all pre-planning out. But if that happens, maybe we can work something out where we can acquire those somehow. But that's way down the road. But we did check. So
Okay.
there is somebody there.
So we did establish those three project teams, and there was a fourth that was recommended, which was a review of the restrictive covenants that we applied to redevelopment property when it's sold, to review them and make recommendations. And I don't think anybody ever signed up for that, but has anybody had any consideration or rethoughts about that process?
I thought we directed, like, staff to research before we form, or just sort of see the feasibility of suggestions before we form that. But I'm happy to, help with that. But I thought we talked about doing research first before we form the committee or the group.
So the main things that we were concerned with in that was the low to moderate income restriction that we put on everything. And so I've been in touch with the School of Government and in conversation, and I'm happy to touch base with you this week and see if there's something we need to present. But I don't see that we're doing anything outside of the bounds of what redevelopment commissions are allowed to do. So there's no major change that I feel is necessary. But again, I'm happy to share my research with you all.
Yeah. I guess from my perspective, I kind of envisioned a menu of different types of restrictive covenants that are at our disposal to use, that we could pick and choose when they were appropriate to that particular individual piece of property, rather than having one singular boilerplate approach to it. And I think that if we can come up with a laundry list of prospective restrictive covenants, again, that are appropriate to the individual piece of property rather than one size fits all, I think that's kind of where I would like to see that go.
Okay.
Okay. Any other new business that anyone wants to bring before us?
Is the health and wellness new business or is that?
That is
That's
the
the
next
next
item.
agenda.
Next item, okay. Just want to make sure I ain't missing.
Yeah, you're going to get your say.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Ready.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next item is consider accepting the health and wellness agreement that was sent out a little while ago, and I hope everybody's had a chance to look at it. And it's very similar to one we've been discussing for several months now. And if maybe Jamie, would you like to lead the conversation regarding this document?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Commission. Included in your agenda package is a document that you have seen previously, this captured agreement. It's a proposed agreement between the Redevelopment Commission and Carolina East Health System. I'm sure you all are aware that last evening at your direction, Mr. Executive Director, Mr. Wallace, and a representative from Carolina East made a presentation to the Board of Aldermen. I'm sure either Mr. Huff or Mr. Wallace are going to give you a deeper dive into that presentation. But this agreement could formalize the obligations of the Commission and Carolina East Health System as it relates to the Health and Wellness Center that you all have been contemplating. As indicated, there have been some minor revisions to the document that you'll see in the red line version, some capitalization and various different things. Nothing materially changes the proposed agreement. The terms remain the same, that you would be requesting a portion of, I think it's 727 3rd Avenue to be conveyed by the Board of Aldermen to the Redevelopment Commission. You also would be asking for an allocation of just over $300,000 to be made to Carolina East Health System that's already been allocated for the Health and Wellness Center, and that Carolina East would agree to construct and operate a health and wellness center on that site for no less than 5 years. And there's also a reversion included in the special warranty deed that's attached to this agreement that if Carolina East for some reason is unable or unwilling to continue to operate such a clinic, that title would revert back to the commission or its successor in interest, which is largely the concept that has been discussed and was presented to the board last night. But just so that you have the benefit of Carolina East's proposed minor revisions, we wanted to place that back before you. This is an opportunity for you to discuss and review. There's no action being requested tonight. It's my understanding from speaking with Mr. Huff and listening to his presentation last night that you all will be making a formal request of the Board of Aldermen on March 26th, 2 weeks from yesterday, at which time the board will take action to approve this transaction, and then you will be able to be empowered to sign this document if it's the will of the commission.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do we need to formally back that presentation, that request one to the board, or have we done that yet?
You gave direction at your previous meeting to the executive director, and based on that direction, he's made that presentation to the board.
Okay, so the presentation's good, but the formal request, do you need anything on that?
No.
Okay.
It was a decision of the project team to split it into two presentations. It was originally just clumped into one specific direction to pursue it with the board. So Mr. Wallace and I decided we wanted to make sure that there was time for community engagement and feedback, and so we split the presentation into two so that the proposal will come at the 26th Board of Aldermen meeting.
Which is consistent with the direction that you gave to the executive director to make the presentation and make the request. It was just bifurcated based on the recommendations from the project group.
Sticking with it, then I'll get to you.
Oh, no, okay.
How long do you, with the gives and takes and approvals of various boards and so forth, what's your time frame? Because, I mean, the document that we have says April. Is there any chance in the world that it can get done in April?
Well, that's 6 months from
No, just for this agreement.
For the
Oh, the
agreement to be
agreement, okay.
entered
I
into,
thought you meant sure.
it's quite possible. So I think what is being contemplated is the meeting on the 26th. The Board of Aldermen will have a deed presented before them that they can authorize the mayor to execute that would convey the city's interest in the property located at 3rd Avenue from the city to the Redevelopment Commission. So that could conceivably happen in 2 weeks if the board is inclined to grant that request. Once you all have the dirt, once that deed is recorded, and you have approval of the conveyance from the board, which if they're inclined they can do on the 26th, you all can then have a meeting to officially adopt this agreement, and then you can move forward. So you could do so at your regularly scheduled meeting in April.
Okay, and then all the transfers of money and so forth like that all have to be approved by the Board of Aldermen as well?
That will happen at the meeting at the 26th.
On the
That-
26th,
Those are
oh.
the things that they're considering. So
Okay,
they're
they're
considering
not-
the transfer
that's
of the
all wrapped
property.
together.
Yes, sir.
Now, did they have to also approve our relationship with the hospital?
Yes, sir, and
So
that is,
that'll be the April meeting, the back half of April meeting they have?
no, sir, that's all contemplated to be considered at the meeting on the 26th.
Okay.
So conveying the dirt, transferring the money, and approving your conveyance to the hospital, subject to the conditions set out in your development agreement.
Thank you.
And to dispel any confusion that my fellow commissioners may have, we were extremely strategic in our presentation and what we've been doing when we split it up like that to do it. We ran into some concerns when we did talk to the community. They had a lot of questions during that presentation last night. We checked all the boxes. All the concerns they had, we addressed them right there. And some concerns of some other leaders in the city. But we were extremely strategic in that presentation to make sure we checked those boxes. So I just want to make sure y'all knew that's why it was split up. I thought we told you before, but I just want to make sure I tell you now what we were doing. Okay? All right. In full transparency. So.
And the board is going to consider these documents and reflect upon the information presented by Mr. Huff and others last evening. So if commissioners are so inclined, you're welcome to come to the meeting on the 26th. That is not a meeting where generally public comment is entertained. However, the Board of Aldermen can do what they want to do. But you may want to participate in that meeting if you are available.
The public comment was last night for anybody that wanted to say something. That was part of it. We split it in two like that, so they had a chance. It was one box check. You see what I'm saying? And we just went on down to try to address the concerns of the community and some of our citizens.
Any other insights you would like to share with us?
I would just like to say, last night, the perceived barriers that were supposed to happen last night never transpired. I guess must give kudos to Zeb and Judy. I mean, they put on a stellar presentation last night. I mean, they were on fire. I've never seen Zeb that animated. I mean, he went Baptist on us. He went evangelical when he started, so I kind of toned it down because he had already taken it up. And then Judy, when we met that Thursday to finalize the presentation, I got hoodwinked last night. I mean, they changed what they said they were going to do on Thursday during practice and came out with this whole different thing. So I had to ad-lib a little bit at the end to try to stay with them and keep the momentum going. But I want to say I'm extremely proud of my colleagues last night. They really brought it home last night. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then right after, they won a community support here. Right after, when we finished, half of the audience stood up and went out the door. So they knew that they were here for that. So it was just, I couldn't have planned out any better. It was a great night. So, but I just wanted to say publicly, I thank my colleagues and Robbie was here last night. He's still with us in solidarity. But I just want to say thank you because that was incredible what I saw last night. So.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Your kind words are too much. I will attempt to stay Methodist for you.
Evangelical last night,
but if it was a good presentation, it's only because of the hard work that's been done all along. And so, really, this is an exciting moment. As I said last night, this is an exciting moment for the Redevelopment Commission. The investment of Carolina East Health Systems will be the biggest, the largest investment made in the redevelopment zone since its inception. And that investment will create impact, private investment since its inception. And that investment will create impact, real impact that can actually be seen and felt. And I am very optimistic, as Mr. Wallace said. I get a little animated about it. So
the theme last night was uniting our unique resources for collective impact.
Mr. Wallace, can you make sure you're speaking into the microphone, please?
Testing. Okay. Say that again.
Yes, please.
Okay. The theme last night was uniting our unique resources for collective impact. And what we meant by that is the city, the hospital, the Redevelopment Commission, and a lot of other partners come together to make sure that we make that collective impact. And I do want to say thank you to the aldermen. 4 of the 6 seated made a comment, which was awesome. I mean, Alderman Kinsey, and I'm going to have to steal this little cliche he said, it's something about, was birthing a baby? He said he birthed a baby or something like that, and that got it rolling. Everybody started commenting after that. So I do want to thank the alderman as well. I mean, it's pretty good money. So,
Any other thoughts, comments about the Wellness Center or the report that was put last night, nor the agreement that we have before you? Okay. No actions required on anything there.
No, sir, unless there was going to be some direction to make any changes, but if everybody's comfortable with what has been contemplated, and as long as you're not changing your direction to staff to make the request at the next Board of Alderman meeting, there's no action required.
I'm satisfied with the New Testament of this document, you know, the red writing. Okay. I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
New Testament. New Testament.
All right. Staff report.
All right. We've been busy in the Office of the Redevelopment Commission. We have I have my first New Bern 101 presentation tomorrow in this very room. If you'd like to learn all about the Redevelopment Commission and development services, you can come and watch. But if you come and watch, I will drag you up in front with me, because as the working group learned last night, I don't like to stand up in front of people all alone. So I invite you to come, and I will drag you up so that you can address New Bern 101 tomorrow with me. March 18th, we have a potential partner in ECU. Thanks to Commissioner Steve Strickland for connecting me with Merrill Flood. We'll be touring the redevelopment boundary area and talking about Mr. Flood's work in Greenville and how some of that can translate to the work we do here in New Bern. So I look forward to reporting on that at our next meeting as well. And then probably second only to the Health and Wellness Clinic progress is our progress being made at Walt Bellamy Avenue. The 3 houses are coming along beautifully. I was actually treated to a tour this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and final plumbing is going in, doorknobs are going in, and there's, for those of you who know development and renovation, blue tape is on the wall. So that's the point where we are. So we look forward to moving into next steps relatively soon, which presents to the Commission an opportunity for discussion about what we would like to do. It is my understanding from you all that this will not be the last housing development that we step into. We want to continue to push affordable housing and create and cultivate affordable housing in this community. And one of the things that I'm learning is that there are a lot of people who are in our community who are interested in owning and becoming a homeowner and those kinds of things. Right now, there exists no mechanism whereby we can collect those names without demanding or asking for those residents to give some sort of deposit. So right now, if you put your name in the queue to purchase any property that the Redevelopment Commission has, you have to put a deposit down and a request for purchase with the city clerk. And so Jamie and I Madam Attorney and I put our heads together this afternoon, and we wonder if the Commission wouldn't be so inclined to give me direction to create a document that can go on our webpage that would be an interactive document for individuals to sign up who are interested in the housing that we are developing, that would give us some sort of, give us on our side a list of contacts for individuals who are interested in our housing, so that I can actually start to work with them and to get them paired with financial products and education that they might need, so that they're ready to go as soon as, say, the A Street project is done or the next project after that. So I kind of give that to you all to give me some direction.
Thoughts, comments from the commission? I certainly think that's a worthwhile approach to it. I mean, having to go down and make an offer to purchase with a deposit, I think is a lost cause. Tremendous amount of paperwork is going to go on in returning of the deposits and so forth. I think it's the wrong road to travel for people who might be interested in home ownership. I think in the redevelopment area, we need to make it as easy as humanly possible for people to be interested and express interest to us, so that we can work with them and hopefully meet their needs. So that's direction.
If that's the sentiment of the majority, then certainly that's direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to make it clear that that's solely an expression of interest. No
Not
sort of
an
promise,
offer.
no queuing, no nothing of that nature, just solely an expression of interest.
That's correct.
And so the next step from there, I guess, we need to be careful about like picking. I think the interest will be more than 3. So, you know, what then becomes the process of choosing who gets to put the deposit on the house? That I'm not really understanding how that'll work.
So once an individual has financing and they're ready, so when the houses are done, so there's 2 parts, I'm sorry. When the houses are done, it will fall to you all to move those properties onto the sellable list, so that anybody in the world can bid for them. Or an entity could purchase them, or you're familiar with how we dispose of properties. So you all have to move that from not available to available. Once you move that to available, individuals who have their financing ready to go and they are actually serious inquiries that are familiar with the process of the upset bid, because it is not a traditional, we place it on the market and sell it that way. So once it's available and they're ready, then they can go to the city clerk, put a request to purchase in, and the upset bid process would continue as it's outlined in the statute. Did I say that correctly, Madam Attorney?
Yes, sir. And just to add to those comments, the part 1 that Mr. Huff is outlining about collecting information of people who might be interested serves a number of purposes. One, having that information and building that relationship with the executive director gives individuals an opportunity to schedule tours, gives individuals an opportunity to get information about the upset bid process, because it is unique and not typical in most real estate transactions. So there's a lot of information gathering and building that can happen in that stage. Once the properties are completed and transitioning to phase 2, as Mr. Huff outlined, you all will decide what the minimum bid for those properties will be. So once the minimum bid is established, then you can entertain offers to purchase for individuals who can meet or exceed that minimum bid and begin the upset bid process that way. As you recall from your Redevelopment Commission powers chart, there are a number of ways to distribute property or to sell property, and the upset bid process is one of the vehicles that you can utilize in that process. In your information gathering phase, if there's a entity with a public purpose who might be interested, then you might decide to use another method of disposing of these properties, 1, 2, or all 3. But what Mr. Huff has outlined gives you the opportunity to gather information that you can utilize to provide services to the community, and also to help you determine which method of sale is most appropriate.
I also think developing that list would be a way to prove a market to an outside developer, that there are people in the area capable of purchasing housing so that we don't have to build all the new housing. We can entice an independent developer to purchase some of our properties that we've accumulated and get private investment in the community as well. So I think there's multiple purposes that are served by gathering that information.
Absolutely. Well, I take that as direction given, and if there are no more questions, that actually concludes my staff report.
Okay, question about the staff report is it doesn't talk about the Eubank Street house.
So at present, there's really not much of an update to be given on the Eubanks house. We've been talking to several different partner agencies that could potentially take ownership of that, and we're working through CDBG regulations. The issue, and I won't call it an issue, I want to be careful with my wording. The important thing when it comes to CDBG funds is that we meet the national objective in a way that is both fair to the consumer and accurate to the procedures that community development block granting actually requires. And so that's quite complicated. It is complex. I am learning a lot. But if there are any major revelations as it pertains to the Eubanks house, I'll be sure that this commission is the first to know.
It's disheartening to ride by there and see a house that is ready for occupancy, and we have people that want a new home, and we're sitting here with it boarded up. I mean, that's really. But I understand the
Do you know how much?
Processes.
Sorry. Do you know how much longer it might take? I mean, any thoughts? Because if we're looking at 6 months or a year, could we do a short-term lease on it?
That is a good question, and I'm not sure of the answer. I would hesitate to give a timeline, considering if you had asked me in July last year how long I thought it was going to take, I would have told you by August we would have had it wrapped up, and then I got myself quite an education. So I hesitate to gander a timeline, but I will definitely look into the short-term lease option to see. I will say that with the short-term lease, I think that any income gathered from that would be considered program income, and so it would just go directly back to CDBG. But at least the house would be occupied, so it's worth investigating, and I can check with the CDBG office tomorrow morning.
And to be compatible with the Redevelopment Commission statutes, any lease of the property would have to be connected to some type of transitional housing program, connected to an ongoing redevelopment program or process. So it may be in Mr. Huff's research and evaluation, if there's a partner entity that's doing some rehabilitation work and someone is temporarily displaced, then that may be an opportunity for them.
Okay.
But outside of that context, your abilities to do leases is pretty limited.
Okay. Any other questions for Zeb about his activities of the past month? Okay. Is there any need for a closed session this evening?
Not tonight,
Madam
Mr.
Attorney?
Vice Chair.
Anyone else?
I think I need to tell permission to speak.
Sure.
All right. I think I need to relay the sentiments of our city leader last night, the mayor. He did ask a question during our presentation about the Bloomfield parcel and what we were doing. And it would be delightful to him if we would be able to report some progress in that endeavor. So just want to make sure y'all knew that, and that it was told to us last night. So I'll be having a meeting next week, Steve, to brainstorm and see what our options are.
Mr. Wallace, do you need a closed session on that issue?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I think I do.
You do.
I think I do. Yeah,
Give me 1 second.
closed session.
Okay?
What you riding?
We need a motion to go into closed session.
You do need a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
Well, I
Do you
will-
need a statute?
You need the statute. I think, I want to be absolutely sure. I don't want to tell you the wrong one. I was right. Pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A5, to discuss the acquisition of real property. Is that your motion, Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Here we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will now go into closed session. Wait for the video and
That was funny.
We're back.
Go.
okay, we have returned from closed session, and the next order of business is adjournment.
I
So
make a
moved.
motion that this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The March meeting is now adjourned.
Good job, Chair.
Ms. Walker always does